The M4 MacBook Pro is going to be the biggest upgrade since the M1. How do I know this for sure? Well, despite Apple not even announcing their October event yet, two Russian tech YouTubers, Wilsacom and Romanchev768, literally got their hands on the unreleased M4 MacBook Pros and even made videos on them, showing them fully working as well as benchmarking them. Now, this is definitely unprecedented for Apple. In a way, it does kind of remind me of the iPhone 4 incident where it was accidentally left in a bar, and right after that, it was everywhere on the news, to the point where Steve even acknowledged this during the Apple event itself.
Stop me if you've already seen this.
Although this M4 MacBook Pro leak is even bigger, as the two devices that were leaked were both retail units rather than pre-release versions like the iPhone 4 was. So how did this leak even happen? Well, according to Shrimp Apple Pro, the seller claimed that it had 200 M4 MacBook Pros for sale, all presumably coming from a massive warehouse leak. Additionally, the M4 MacBook Pro has now surfaced on Russian website Avito for 720,000 rubles, or just about $7,500. So you may have noticed that literally all of these M4 MacBook Pro leaks are coming from Russia, and I do think I know why. You see, you cannot officially buy Apple products in Russia anymore. You can only get them imported. So I think that maybe a large shipment from China got either stolen or miscategorized. Then it got purchased by one of these third parties who imports Apple products into Russia, and then further resold to customers either intentionally or accidentally ahead of their release. And this is just my theory, so I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think happened. But okay, is this leak actually legit? Well, some publications were saying that it could be fake due to the front of the box being identical to the M3 box, which Apple, quote-unquote, has never done before. Well, I think that these leaks are 100% true, and here's why. First, Apple has actually reused previous box designs. The M2 MacBook Pro, for example, had the same box design as the M1 model. Additionally, these leaks also showed the About This Mac section that clearly displayed the full specs. And on top of this, Mark Gurman has also confirmed that these leaks are indeed legit. So yeah, guys, they're real. Now, if you're planning on buying one of these new M4 Macs, I highly recommend using a tool that ensures it always runs at peak performance. Ever since my 2011 13-inch MacBook Pro, I've relied on Clean My Mac, and they've just launched their biggest update yet. Now simply called Clean My Mac, the first thing you'll notice is the stunning new UI, which is even cleaner and aligns with their Clean My Phone app design. But it's more than just a new look. Cleanup now removes 27% more junk, whilst also being easier to find duplicates and similar photos to delete. Smart Scan has been upgraded to Smart Care, offering more, including removing duplicate downloads and updating apps. But my favorite new feature is the Assistant, which shows my MacBook's health with a sleek icon that actually matches my model. Declutter and optimize your Mac with Clean My Mac, and also get a free 7-day trial by using the link below. But okay, what are the main upgrades here aside from the M4 chip, which I'll cover in a second? Well, there are 4 pretty big upgrades. 1, the color, 2, the ports, 3, external monitor support, and 4, the memory. Color-wise, it looks like the base M4 MacBook Pro would now come in space black, something that before, with the M3 models, it was reserved for the M3 Pro and M3 Max chips only. And I think that's great. I currently use an M3 MacBook Air as my main computer, and if I were to ever go back to a MacBook Pro, I would just get the base model, as I just don't need that extra performance of the Pro chip. So being able to now get that in my favorite color, or non-color, is awesome. Which brings me to the ports. The M4 MacBook Pro now comes with an extra Thunderbolt port on the right, matching the port configuration of the M3 Pro and M3 Max models, which means that you can charge it from either side now and also use 2 external displays with the lid open. We already knew that the M4 chip had an extra Thunderbolt controller, so I was hoping that we would finally be able to drive 3 displays now. That's 2 external plus the MacBook's own display. Well, now we know this for sure, as Romanchev showed this in a follow-up video, how he was able to connect 2 external monitors to the M4 model, all whilst still powering the internal display. For me, this is literally the biggest upgrade. I just hope that it also comes to the M4 MacBook Air next year, although I wouldn't be surprised if Apple decides to software lock the MacBook Air from running 2 displays at the same time with the lid open in order to push more people towards the MacBook Pro. And the fourth main upgrade, aside from the M4 chip of course, is the RAM. We are now getting 16GB of RAM on the base model, up from 8, which is really how it should have always been on a MacBook Pro. We ourselves had a ton of issues with the base M3 MacBook Pro that we had last year, with Final Cut constantly freezing and crashing due to the lack of memory. And some apps, like Blender by the way, had no support for ray tracing on the 8GB of RAM model. And I even ended up talking directly to Apple, which reached out in order to diagnose and, help them fix these issues, which up until a few months ago, when we last tested the M3 MacBook Pro, they sadly still persisted. So, all in all, this M4 MacBook Pro is pretty much on par with the high-end chip models, which is really how it should have always been. You get the same device with the same ports, the same external monitor support, just with the base chip. Which brings me to the M4 chip's performance. So, based on the benchmarks from the leaked videos, the M4 MacBook Pro scores 3,864 for its single-core performance. That is 6% higher than the M4 iPad Pro and a whopping 25% higher than the M3 MacBook Pro. What's even more impressive is its multi-core performance. The M4 MacBook Pro scores 15,288. That's 16% higher than the M4 iPad Pro, which shows how much difference active cooling makes, 32% higher than the M3 MacBook Pro, and to my surprise, it is even 9% higher than the binned M3 Pro MacBook Pro, all whilst matching the performance of the unbinned M3 Pro chip. But how is this even possible? Well, the unbinned M3 Pro chip has a 12-core CPU with 6 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. The M4 chip only has 10 CPU cores, 4 performance and 6 efficiency, which means that we get the same performance with 2 less performance cores. Now, to keep things simple, let's assume that the efficiency cores are identical in performance to the M3 Pro's efficiency cores, and only the performance cores are faster. In this case, we get a 50% higher performance per P-core compared to the M3 Pro. So I put these numbers into ChatGPT's new O1 model, which features their latest mathematical reasoning, just to give us some ideas of what numbers we could potentially see for the M4 Pro and the M4 Max. Okay, so even if we assume that the M4 Pro would still have the exact same number of cores as the M3 Pro, at 6 performance and 6 efficiency, ChatGPT estimates around 20,400 points for the multi-core score. However, it could even be higher than this if we do get more cores, which I do think we absolutely will. Now, my guess is that we'll get 2 extra performance cores, which would translate to a whopping 25,000 points in Geekbench 6 multi-core. Now, of course, this number is simply a prediction, as it is quite tricky to calculate this, since the real performance will always be split between the performance and the efficiency cores, both of which get their own updates. So my personal guess here would be around 20,000 to maybe 21,000 at most. Now, if we take a look at the M4 Max, Apple could either give us 2 efficiency cores in order to have 6 on essentially all of their M4 chips, or they could give us 2 performance cores instead. Either way, this will be an 18-core chip. And here, ChatGPT estimates anywhere from a 26,000 multi-core score to a 35,000, depending on what cores we get, as well as what sort of per-core improvement we see here. Personally, I'd expect closer to 30,000 here, which would still make it one of the fastest ever multi-core scores, competing with chips like the AMD Threadripper Pro 7995WX, which is a 96-core chip. Yeah. The M4 Max will for sure be a beast. But you know what else is a beast? Our latest wallpaper specs for October. We've got Autumn Aura by our own Zara Vasey, Radiant Reflections by Michael Swengel, Spooky Shadows by our new creator Cheese, Midnight Metropolis by me, and Shaded Shapes by Hanae. We now have over 120 packs with over 1,200 wallpapers, all of them in 8K, which you can now also get through our brand new lifetime purchase option, where for a single payment of $34.99, you get everything in the app past and future, as well as present of course, with no subscriptions or ads. Okay, now back to the M4 chip. I haven't even talked about the GPU performance yet. From Roman Chev's video, we can see that the base M4 GPU is now approaching the M1 Max's GPU when it comes to performance, which is extremely impressive considering that the M1 Max had a 24-core GPU for the bin version as opposed to the M4's 10-core GPU. Although I should also mention that Cinebench does use ray tracing, which the M4 does have dedicated hardware for. So the raw GPU performance will actually be less if you don't use ray tracing. Speaking of that, in Geekbench, the M4's GPU scores 57,603, 8% higher than the M4 iPad Pro, and 21% higher than the M3 MacBook Pro. Although compared to the M3 Pro MacBook Pro, it is 16% lower, due to only having 10 GPU cores as opposed to 14. And I haven't even talked about the AI performance, which is also about twice as fast as the M3's. So all in all, this M4 MacBook Pro is really the biggest performance jump since the M1. The only things that you should be aware of are, number one, the price will likely go up. I would be really surprised if Apple keeps it the same, given all the upgrades. And number two, it's already been 3 years since Apple introduced this current MacBook Pro design. Apple usually updates their MacBook Pro's designs every 4 to 5 years. So next year, we may see a new design that's thinner, lighter, and possibly even with an OLED display. Just something to keep in mind. But other than that, an amazing upgrade. And by the way, this is supposed to be announced at Apple's late October event with a launch on November the 1st. So let me know, what do you guys think? Are you upgrading or maybe waiting until next year's new design? Let me know. I'm Daniel, zoneoftech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. zoneoftech, signing out. Cheers.